Hi. Welcome, everyone. So exciting to see so many names and faces that I've been emailing with. Very cool, very cool. Hello. I have two screens, so you might see my eyes do a little, a little trick here. Um, First and foremost, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you all with us today. Just some access needs right at the top. We are going to be recording this for future viewing. We had a lot of folks unable to make it with us today, so Nicole will press record, and you may see a little blinking light. So just be aware that that is happening. So if we want to go ahead and start recording. The chat is enabled, so please feel free to interact. There's direct messages, but also keep in mind the direct messages may be viewed later, so use discretion. I just want to say that because I did not know that for a long time into the Zoom land. And if you need transcription or captioning, on the bottom toolbar there should be a live transcript button. So if you press that, it should appear for you on the screen if you need that. And that is actually downloadable as well if you wanted to read something later on. So just want to pass it on. And if you have any issues, my wonderful colleagues in the chat will take care of you. If you put tech or tech needs or IT question, we'll do our best. So thank you. But welcome everybody to NET's Community Forum, Beginning to Heal Through Connection. We're just so excited to gather in community today. It's been a while. Welcome to 2021. My name is Patricia Garza. I'm brand new to NET. I'm the new Director of Programming and Engagement here at NET. Yay, welcome to me. You all have been so warm and welcoming in your emails. So I want to thank everybody in advance. I'm just so honored and blessed to share a space with you all today. And working with such an incredible group of folks. This is so exciting to me. I'm a Latinx human with short, faded red hair, with purple cat-eye glasses. I'm in my office with many books that I have read behind me. But don't worry, these are all children's books right here. My wife and I collect children's books. And I'm in my office with a golden curtain behind me. I'm wearing a salmon colored shirt with black diamonds on them and very large dangly black earrings. I love my earrings. And I'm zooming in from Tongva-Quiche-land in East Los Angeles. And I prefer they, them pronouns. I want to acknowledge my two colleagues that are also here today and made everything possible and who will be supporting us, like I said in the chat. Alicia Tontik, of course, our wonderful executive director. Let's give some love there. And Nicole Shiro, our finance and operations manager. Thank you both for helping today. You all are awesome. And I also want to start by celebrating. You know, NET is celebrating their 25 years this year, 2021. So I don't know if you saw those little birthday candles on the image when you entered. It's our birthday. So we have a whole slew of things that we've been brewing about doing this year. So we'll have some programming, some digital programming rolling out throughout the year. And so please engage with us all year long. We're really excited to be celebrating with you all this year. And it's because of you, because of our members, and because of all these beautiful artists that you're going to hear from today. So today we'll move through in kind of two sections. The first section, we'll welcome a subset of our spring 2020 NET Remote Connection Mini Grant recipients into conversation. They'll share a little bit about the various relationships or projects or technologies that they employ to connect with fellow artists and fellow collaborators, even with these restricting and challenging times. We thank them for being here today. Thank you all. I think I've said that many times, but I want to say it publicly again. And we also want to thank the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation for continuing to support the NET 10 program. So thank you to Mellon. And then we'll shift gears and we'll open up the Zoom to everybody for conversation around this notion of beginning to heal through connection. We want to hear from everybody here in the room. We'll start a stack in the chat in that second section. And then if you have questions too for our panelists, or if you have a remote connection you want to share about, that will be the time when we can really open it. We want to hear from folks who have really practiced distance collaboration and have really begun to chip away at this big question we're all going to need to grapple with in terms of healing in the face of reopening. I think we can all agree, given the current environment, that this question of healing is really the question I think we need to grapple with. We need to start tackling it. And I know this community of all communities really has some great resources and thoughts around this. So I can't wait to hear. We have deployed a few framing questions that I put on the e-blast and in the website, but I'll just throw them out here and maybe we can copy and paste them into the chat as well. So just start percolating around these questions for our conversation. How can we start to recover from isolation? Where can we focus our work towards racial justice and civic engagement healing? How can we dream and inspire one another this year? And what shape is our programming starting to take for 2021? And I'll also throw in there what resources, yes, money, but also what resources do we need for this adaptation of 2021, which really will be a hybrid year, I think, in a lot of ways. So those are the questions. We'll put them in the chat. And before we kind of kick off, I want to invite one of our panelists, Amelia, to lead us in a land acknowledgement today. Amelia, thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure. Hello, everyone. My name is Amelia Ampuero. I am the founder and artistic director of Duke City Repertory Theater. I am also a Latinx human. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I have long brown hair. I am wearing a red sweater, and I am sitting at my kitchen table in front of a blank wall. I come to you today from Albuquerque, New Mexico, the ancestral and unceded lands of the Pueblo people. Through this acknowledgement, I aim to bring attention to New Mexico's own legacy of white supremacy, violent colonialism, and the theft of this territory from its original caretakers. I pay respect to the Pueblo people, specifically the Isleta and Sandia people, on whose land Duke City Repertory Theater currently operates. I would also like to acknowledge that as our world is struggling with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are gathering today using internet and technology that may not be as easily accessible or available in present-day Indigenous communities. Welcome. I would like to invite all of our participants and panelists today to enter into the chat where you are Zooming from. You can share your name, pronouns if they aren't in your little handle, any ensemble you are affiliated with, and your land acknowledgement. Nicole will also put a link, a resource link into the chat if you want more information on land acknowledgement. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. And I'm going to hand it back over to Patricia to get us started on our conversation.
Thank you, Amelia. It's so important to do land acknowledgements, not as an act of performative measures, but to really deeply start thinking about how we're putting this in action in 2021. And I think that goes back to that question around civic engagement, racial justice, climate justice. I think it's all connected. So I would really love to hear folks' thoughts of how they're really activating land acknowledgement and in 2021 and in their practices too as well. So just start thinking about that as well. I would love to hear thoughts. Great, I see folks introducing themselves in the chat, fabulous. So continuing to do that, that's awesome. That way we can know who's here. All right, so ready to hear about these remote connections. So we'll dig in. I'll be inviting the colleagues to share in two groups so we can hear a little bit from everyone. And if they have audio or photos, they'll also be sharing their screen throughout the conversation as well. So you might see that. So if everybody, before you start talking, if you could give just a very brief audio description of yourself, and then if you don't have your pronouns listed in your handle, go ahead and let us know your preferred pronouns or your gender pronouns. So we're going to begin with individual members who received remote connection mini grants. And I want to hear from Jessica, Adam, Pratik, and Paul. And all four of you utilize the remote connection mini grants for artist fees or honoraria. So we'll hear from Paul first, and then we'll move to Jessica, Pratik, and I hope I'm saying your name, but please correct me if I'm not, and Adam. And Adam will kind of close us out. And if you could just speak a little bit about what relationships you formed and how you see this connection informing your work into the future. So I'll pass to Paul first.
Thank you. Definitely want to say thank you so much to the NET to Alicia for reaching out to me, for being my friend and supporter, and to all of you for joining us today. The cool thing was that this grant support was available like right when COVID hit, um, and so at the beginning we didn't know what we were gonna do, right? Like, what are we supposed to do as theater artists? And the cool thing about being part of an ensemble is you don't have to make all those decisions by yourself. So I was working at the time, and I still am, as a founding member of La Lengua Teatro, or La Lengua Theater, here in San Francisco, which is a Spanish language theater company. Our whole goal is to promote Spanish language contemporary theater in San Francisco. And so this grant basically helped us produce our first Zoom joint, right? Which was a forage into how do we take what we do on stage and put it on the Zoom. So in April and March, we didn't know anything about this. I remember the idea was, let's figure it out. And so the first production was figuring out how do we get the play to work on Zoom. And so we spent some time, working on that. And one of the biggest things was, how do we do simultaneous translations so that folks who don't speak Spanish can hear us and see it. And that was a big deal, just figuring out technology so we could reach audiences and maintain connection. So I think at that same time, that was a big priority, was to make sure that we were following our mission. We were still bringing Spanish language theater to the Latino community here in San Francisco and making it accessible for folks who didn't speak Spanish. So I think that's really important, because so much theater, is for my experience, is community based. And so the connections between theater artists and the community shouldn't just disappear because we can't be in space together. And I feel like, in the beginning of the pandemic, the idea was, how do we maintain communication? How do we give access to folks experience theater? And the response that we got in that moment was, we were able to connect with people from all over the nation and Latin America. We had people watching our production. What did we do? Our first production was, we did 3 productions on Zoom. And I think the first one, which one was it? It was La Muerte y la Doncella by Ariel Dorfman. And we had the Chilenos watching, we had the Cubanos watching, we had people connecting from different places. And that was really cool. Like, oh, wow, look how big our audience got all of a sudden. And we got a lot of encouragement to continue doing it. So we did 2 more productions on Zoom. And right now, we're taking a break to figure out, is this the form we want to go to forward? So that's where I'm coming from on our experience. And I want to thank you so much for that support.
Thank you, Paul. That's great. Really, that expansion of audience, that global context now, right? Our work can live in. So it's very interesting. Yeah. Thank you. Jessica?
Hi, my name is Jessica Bauman. My pronouns are she and hers. I have shoulder length, curly, formerly brown, currently more blonde, more gray hair, blonde, I flatter myself. And I am sitting in front of a very full bookshelf with a lot of clutter. So I want to echo what Paul said, in deep gratitude to NET, both for making this money available and making it available so quickly and so easily. It was really important, sort of psychically, to feel like that support came through at a moment where I know that I felt incredibly paralyzed by how things had sort of fallen apart so quickly. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm collaborating with artists in Tijuana, Mexico, at a theater called Tijuana Hace Teatro. And I started collaborating with them through a TCG travel grant, and our were and are developing a project that hopefully will be in real life someday. And we have all this momentum, like we've done a big workshop in the, like a devising and generative workshop to create material for our playwright in December of 2019. And then a bunch of my collaborators got really cheap fares and came to New York, and we worked a bit in January of 2020. And I'm a Luddite, and so I use a paper date book, and I was just looking through my papers from last year to figure out the timing of all of this. And I look at all of the times that I was supposed to be able to go to Tijuana that are all crossed out. And it's just like heartbreaking to remember. So I was supposed to go out there at the end of March to do a workshop of the script that the playwright had written from the workshop we had done in December, and then like the world fell apart. And so what we were able to do, we used the NET grant to pay people for their time to be able to do a reading on Zoom. And it was like, at some level, like it was very contained and very simple. But I think what it was able to do that was so important was that it allowed us to continue to feel like we were all working together, it really did allow us to continue to feel connected at a moment where we were all reeling from how disconnecting the whole experience was. And especially because we had worked with this group of actors who had shared so much of their personal experience and had brought so much heart to this devising workshop, that we were still able to share the play that had come out of that work, and that we were all able to connect on Zoom, but to read the play and talk and feel like we had some way to be together and be connected at a moment when we were all like pretty freaked out, I would say, honestly. Like we did this reading the very beginning of April. So it was like nobody had their like feet underneath them at all. And since then, we have done a couple of other readings. We were able to present a little bit of our work in progress at the San Diego Rep Latinx New Play Festival in the fall. And we're in the process now of creating like a specifically Zoom-based event that hopefully will sort of hold us together in feeling like we're doing something and we're making work in the world before we can all be together. And I'm just praying that I can get to Mexico over the summer and that we can actually be in rooms together. So again, thank you so much, both for the opportunity to share the work, but especially for the timing that was so like critical to our like psychic well-being in keeping the project alive.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, I think I hear you. I think we're all hoping that again, that hybrid year, right? That we can start doing things in person when it's safe. Thank you. Pratik, are you with us? I didn't see you in the.
Yes, I'm here.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Jump on in.
Yeah, all right. Hello, everybody. My name is Pratik Motwani. I am calling from the land of the Wiyot people, which is also called Blue Lake, 5 hours north of San Francisco. Sitting in front of a white wall with a black hat and a black sweater and a brown scarf. Okay, so what? First of all, again, I just want to echo everything that Jessica and the other panelists mentioned about the timing of the grant and the accessibility of the grant. It just came right away and at a time where it was most needed personally for me. So what I did with it is that I embarked on a project that I had been wanting to do for a while. So I'm just going to read out what it's about, and then get into some details on the things that we did with it. So in the multicultural Portuguese colony of 1950s Goa, India, the Indian cartoonist Mario Miranda depicts in his journal daily life and events through archetypical cartoon characters. These cartoons are the inspiration for a riotous physical comedy play depicting the dark underbelly of colonization, classism, culture clashes, and oppression. This play in cartoon masks and cartoon level physical acting will center around the universal theme of forbidden love between two different cultures, classes. Those hopes and obstacles to love are intersected by the arrival of a stranger and a key. Turns out everyone in this town village has a key and a secret that they're hiding. The action becomes wild and comedic when keys get lost, found, mixed up, and misplaced, with all the characters trying to unearth each other's secrets while protecting their own through rumors, suspicion, and skulking around in the dark. So, what I was interested in exploring was how colonization lives in the body and how rituals are affected by colonization. One thing that I had always questioned was, why do people in India eat from fork and knives? Because we used to eat with our hands, and we're getting more and more distant from that. So how that lives in the body. So what we did is, because it was a physical comedy show and I had a vision for it, so I embarked on a process of making a mask based on these cartoon archetypes. And I collaborated with a mask maker in Portland, Oregon. His name is Bruce Mars. I share a past history with this mask maker. And so I approached him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share some images of what our inspiration was, and then show you the mask that we half made. Oh no, my battery is really low.
Oh no, plug in. We want to see the mask now.
Just creating the suspense. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Is it working? It's working.
It's working.
Okay, great. All right, so. Okay, it's not too big, but I'll move through these. These are his cartoon depictions. And this is actually from a place in India, in Mumbai, called Cafe Mondegar, and it's a mural that's in that cafe. It was also the cafe where the terrorist attacks had happened a few years ago. These are things that I saw at the Goa airport. These are figurines that of his cartoon illustrations, and these are village archetypes from Goa, which is a very interesting place. The history of it is very interesting. The one on the right, the screen right, is the village drunk, the character of the village drunk. All right, the one in the center there is the town gossip. The one in the center there is the brat girl and brat boy, the two, one with the kazoo and one with the nose pointed up. Sorry, my computer is being really slow. That's the village drunk again. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the mask really quick. So this is Samson and Delilah. They are a couple. Oh, this is really, this is the fisher woman, fisher lady. And so this is the mask that we made. One of the key features of his depictions are big eyes and big teeth. And so this is inspired from one of his characters that he calls Lola. The name of the character is Lola. So I embarked on this journey. It's not possible at the moment for us to interact physically and do this, especially with mask performances and stuff. So I hope that this will, once the pandemic dies out, we'll get to really explore this physically, and the mashup of comedy with a serious subject as colonization of the body. So, and what that does in a non-verbal format, where the focus is on physicality. Wonderful. And that's my share.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Those masks are so striking. Thank you for sharing the visuals. And I think closing us out is Adam. Adam, for the individual members.
Hi, everybody. Adam Cooper-Terán, and I am beaming in from Tucson, Arizona, unceded lands of the Tohono. I have kind of frizzy, semi-long black hair, beard and mustache, with tattoos going down my throat and on my fingers and hands as well. I'm in a room with a lot of technical gear with an altar to audience right, which would be my left. And I'm wearing a shirt, black shirt with a 9-pointed star with the word coil in the middle of it. It's one of my favorite bands, like to always represent. And so I guess to start, it's kind of a stranger story around the grant. Receiving this money, I was initially intending to connect with another NET member, Adrian Mackey from Swim Pony in Philadelphia, as that is a city that I'm planning to be moving to and relocating this spring. The whole focus with meeting with Adrian was to try to connect and establish a series of conversations around both of our work, or what we were intending to do for the year prior to COVID happening. Unfortunately, some family emergencies came up, health related, with her family, that kind of prevented us from following up or connecting further. But at this weird time that became very fortuitous and strange, with receiving the grant and knowing that there was some level of virtual connectivity that needed to happen among any of the projects I was involved in at the time. It kind of gave me the space and time to learn how to use various media over Zoom, and specifically learning and teaching myself how to use a particular software called OBS to do our broadcasting. And so in this weird indirect way, it ended up leading to creating a lot of collaborations for the following months into now, currently, that led to collaborations with all of these organizations and theater companies. And it was kind of a lot at once, that projects started just flowing in and out, working with theater companies as diverse and crossing the span of the country, and universities and institutions too, that led to various collaborations that were solely online. Some of them were like online monthlies that we were doing with Borderlands Theater and Galeria de la Raza in San Francisco. That was like an open mic event. It led to doing like online theater as well, translating theater to through Zoom, but trying to incorporate as many different bits of multimedia as like what I'm pretty much versed in, is working with video and video design and animation, and creating work that is layered, but working with actual bodies from Zoom, utilizing green screens, utilizing mics and lighting. And it got pretty advanced. But it's strange that despite not working with Adrian, or not being able to connect, it kind of just opened up this world of it was the catalyst, I would say, getting this grant, to give myself the time to even imagine what would be possible within a world of creating, translating theater to virtual realm, but then also how to go into places where you could still like affect people, or if it could go into realms of activism too. And that, oddly enough, led me to working with folks based in Philly that are involved with freeing Russell Maroon Shoatz, who's a former Black Panther and member of the Black Unity Council, or founder of the Black Unity Council. He's incarcerated. It led me to all of these organizers that are involved with trying to free him, as he's a very old elder in prison, dying of cancer, and how there's a lot of action on the ground that is happening, and that was happening up until the pandemic, involving freeing him and bringing to attention all the incarcerated folks that are still in prison, not just him. I mean, there's countless others. And if anyone knows my history too, I have a pretty strong connection to the justice system with my own personal story involving my father, who was wrongfully arrested in 1985 in Tucson. And in that way of trying to address like racial inequality, land struggles. This particular group who I'm working with now, pretty much like volunteering a lot of my time to create these online events or teach-ins, has led to also working in the realm of other organizations that are involved with like Philly Peace Park as well. And there's another event we're planning to do next week, another teach-in for Russell that's going to be on the 29th. And I think ultimately what I learned out of this whole process, or from this seed grant that was enough to just give me the time to learn these technical processes, was that so many people need help. So many people need technical support in all of these various realms. The privilege that I have to be able to create any of this kind of work, I think, doesn't go past me. I'm always recognizing that. And in the realm of what work I've been doing too in the past, it definitely concerns the land. It concerns undocumented people. It concerns bringing to light issues that aren't mainstream and giving voice to people that don't have the privilege or the opportunity to speak. So with that, there's a lot of drive that I have in trying to push the technology into realms of activism and trying to connect the dots to make things that that can be, it kind of like dances around the line between what's entertainment, what's thought provoking, and what's activism, and in the realm of what spiritual healing can do through the arts and through technology. I'm really walking that line, and I think it's a line that I've always been walking my entire life. But yeah, so a strange roundabout way, but it's been interesting to see just how this grant was kind of like the drop in the waters that rippled into all of these other projects. And as I move to Philly, I think there's going to be more opportunities to connect with Adrian as well. We're still in touch, so I'm not lost on like trying to pursue something with Adrian in the future. If you're watching, still like let's work together.
Yeah, give a hello. Give a hello. Wow, so incredible! And I see folks in the chat are also really obsessed with this work. So you could chime in there and maybe put your link for your event. So that way folks know it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. That's fantastic. Thank you, all of our individual members that are here with us, and also folks that participated. Is just so incredible. We're going to switch gears to hear from Ensembles next, who also received the mini grants, and hear a little bit about their relationships. And so we have Duke City Repertory Theater, Honest Accomplice Theater, Co-Festival Performance, Last Call, SuperGeographic Ensemble Theater, and Women's Theater Festival. Very exciting. As most of you know, the mini grants went to artist fees, but they also could be used for video services or documentation services. We want to hear about those as well in that perspective. So I thought we kind of start with Maggie and Rowen first, and then we'll move to Amelia, Indy, Dante, and then close out with Sabrina. So I'll pass it to Maggie first to kind of kick us off.
Hi, all. My name is Maggie Keenan-Bolger, and I work with Honest Accomplice Theater here in New York on the unceded Munsee Lenape land. I am in my living room, sitting on a gray couch with a bunch of photos in a line behind me, wearing a maroon shirt. I am white with blonde, sort of chin-length hair. Finally got a haircut after way too long. And so the project that I did with Honest Accomplice was called Creating or Not in COVID. And basically when the quarantine and social distancing started, I emailed a group of folks, and I'm gonna put their faces up on the screen because it was very much an ensemble piece, and I would like for them to be present as much as I am. Folks who I consider to be artist innovators, people who were performers, but also very invested in changing the face of American theater, who were already working to change how theater was made, who it was made for, by, about, etc. basically emailed them and said, I feel like I need a place to go now that we're all sort of disconnected, to come together and do something. And the first thing we did was talk about our hesitations. And the biggest things that folks were worried about were commitment, energy, and a pressure to produce something, where they felt like artists right now were sort of feeling this pressure to, like, you know, create magical things since they had all of this time, even though a lot of them were not feeling particularly creative. And so we came up with a plan, which was to meet 1 hour every week, and have a prompt that was based on how we want theater to look different once all of this is over, and to create or not based on that prompt. And you had the upper option of opting out of creation, but we preferred that everyone showed up for that hour and was present in whatever way they could be. And it ended up being incredibly successful. Our company works with historically excluded groups of people in theater, which means we work a lot with cis women and trans folks, BIPOC artists, people of size, women over 60. There are a lot of historically excluded groups, as it turns out. While there was no requirement to participate, nearly everyone showed up for the 1 hour and was able to offer feedback to whatever way people responded to the prompts. And it was a variety of ways. People wrote poetry, they did videos, they created tiny pieces of theater. They played with Zoom in ways that we thought was really fun, because here was this platform that we had sort of all been given that was, for a lot of us, sort of very sort of formal. And so a lot of people enjoyed sort of breaking sort of the barriers of what Zoom was. And it was so successful that they decided that they wanted to continue. And I'm going to pull up, they wanted to expand the ensemble that we had to include groups that were maybe missing in the original ensemble. And so we expanded into a group of 20. And decided that they did in fact want to produce something and create something that could be shared with a larger group of people on Zoom through OBS, as we were talking about, and create a show that we ended up calling Unmuted, because one of the things that we thought was tricky with the format of Zoom is that everyone sort of signs in and turns off their microphones, and then, you know, we don't have sort of the natural conversations that we have sort of as we might in person. And we ended up having over 2,000 viewers of the actual show. It's now up on YouTube and folks are still watching it. And we should
put a link in there as well.
Yes, I will put it in the chat for sure. Great. And we had folks from over 13 nations, which was huge for us, where it was an amazing expansion of our audience, and also the people who we were able to work with. So one of the main things that we focused on with our funds was, one, making sure that everyone had access to the internet in ways that they could, because a lot of our folks were transient, or because they were in unstable housing situations, or in just places. I mean, we were working with folks, most of whom were in the United States, but there were, especially in the second group, we had folks in Germany and folks who were sort of all around the world. And so internet was not as easy as it might have otherwise been, and is not as easy for most people. So we used a lot of our funds making sure that everyone was super stable with that.
That's great. It's so important. I think that's really great that you all were conscious and really asked, and not just assumed, right, that folks had access. So that's fantastic. Yes, please put that in the chat. We would love to see that. We'll see. Thank you, Maggie. Rowen, do you want to jump in here or come in next?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Rowen Haigh, and I am a white female presenting human. I am standing in front of a standing partition screen. It's a 3-panel screen that I use to hide the rest of my bedroom. I have blonde hair that is pulled back into a small bun on the top of my head. I'm wearing a soft gray sweater shirt, a blue scarf, and dangly multicolored tassel earrings. I have dark brown cat eye style glasses. And I am zooming in from Danville, Kentucky, which is the unceded territory of the eastern band of the Cherokee Nation, as well as the Shawnee, Yuchi, Adena, and Hopewell Nations. And I am a collaborator with and company member of Women's Theater Festival, which is located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is on the land of the Lumbee, Tuscarora, and Shakori people. So I am involved with Women's Theater Festival, WTF, as somebody who was a founding member and then moved away and has maintained involvement with them. We applied for the Net Mini Connection grant in service of a production of Freak Show by Carson Kreitzer, which was going up at the end of May. We were just in pre-production for it. We had auditions and cast it, and had initial design meetings and such. And I was about 2 weeks away from driving to North Carolina for several months to go into rehearsals and start that process when shelter in place became the norm. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, what are we going to do? And it's one of those, I don't even remember exactly how it happened, but we decided to pivot to a virtual production. And we were very lucky to have on our team people who were gamers and really adept streaming people who were able to be like, oh yeah, we can do that. So we're like, okay, great, let's do it. But as Maggie was saying, technology, right? It's a thing. So we used our net funding to make sure that we had the technological infrastructure to do the work as well as we could. We did use OBS, so that is free software. It's open source software, so we didn't have to pay for that. But we did end up paying for a Zoom Pro account so that we could have, really solid, uninterrupted every 40 minutes rehearsal process. And we paid for Vimeo Premium after going through looking at a number of different options, because contractually we did need to charge tickets for the performance. And we wanted a way to be able to archive and keep the work alive and online in a way, again, that protected the playwright's copyright, and we weren't just putting it out there for freeze. I think I was the only one who ended up needing one, but got a Wi-Fi hotspot because my connection kept dropping out. We continually joked about my Kentucky internet. So that was a big thing. And then we did end up using some of the funding for equipment for the actors in terms of getting a lav mic for one of the actors who was moving around a fair amount, and a webcam because somebody had a webcam built into their computer that was the style where it's low by the keyboard instead of up at the top. So we got them an external webcam so that we could have more finesse over the angle of the work. so that's what it went into. I'm going to show, if I have time, a really quick clip.
Yeah, just very quick. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, come on, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, we can see it.
I heard of another place so cold that they live in snow. Blocks of snow piled up to give them shelter from the wind. Everything they wear is the skins of animals, so they look like great furry beasts themselves.
Yes, I saw them once. Laplanders, they were called.
How can you live in snow?
Okay, so one of the things that's really come out of this that has been incredible was that we were able to continue with a production that would have had to have been canceled. So this allowed connection and collaboration among the cast. Myself and our stage manager were working from Kentucky. The rest of the cast was scattered throughout North Carolina in various places. And we could have collaborated with people from further afield, which we actually have done subsequently after having that proof of concept that we could do the work in this way. And we also, as you saw in the clip there, prioritized captioning the script or the show, which has become a norm in our work then to create more access and to enable more connection among different communities in all different places to take part in the work as both collaborators and audience members.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that you were able to use it for those kind of tangible needs, that are so important that we don't think about with like Wi-Fi, right? We just, again, take it for granted that people can connect. So thank you, Rowen. That's really, really great. We have four more folks to hear from, and I just want to, plead with my panelists if we could keep it to 2 to 3 minutes each. That would be really great because I want to keep room for conversation. So Amelia, can I pass to you next?
Yeah, and I will be brief. So Amelia Ampuero, again, I'm with Duke City Repertory Theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Duke City Rep is internally, we sort of talk about ourselves as being a learning theater, and most of the time that learning and that education happens in the rehearsal room. And with once the pandemic started and shelter in place orders went through, we no longer had the room to learn in. So we used the grant to go and learn about things that we've wanted to learn about but haven't had the time because we've been putting up shows. So we had company members who were able to take virtual workshops in everything from stage combat to theater intimacy to streaming services, improv, all sorts of stuff. People were able to learn how to use editing tools and that kind of stuff. We were able to use those skills and we were able to translate them to a show that we put up in December that was seen. One, we had artists that we worked with, a lot of them in Albuquerque, but as far away also as Chicago, Florida, LA, Omaha, and we were seen by people as far away as Cambodia, which was super cool. So that kind of expansion of our reach has been very neat. A couple of seasons ago, Duke City Rep started doing a program that we call Pay What It's Worth for our tickets, which means that when people come to see the show, they are able to pay what they believe the experience was worth after the show. And with our streaming show in December, we did that as well. So if people wanted to see the show, and pay for it, they could. And if they wanted to see it and they either didn't want to pay for it or weren't able to pay for it, they could do that as well. And it was available to them. Moving forward into the future, with things like Pay What It's Worth and streaming, accessibility is really our watchword. We are taking time right now, instead of churning out a lot of content, which so much so much praise and respect to people who are churning out content continuously during the pandemic, but we're taking some time to sort of turn inward and really think about what our values are and think about how to ensure that everybody has access to professional art. And this grant was able to help us, to support us in doing that. So thank you very much.
Great, I love that accessibility as like a word of forever, actually, not even a word of the year, a word of forever. I
Absolutely.
love that. Thank you, Amelia. Indy, are you, I think you joined.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm here.
hi, welcome.
Hey everyone, my name is Indy Mitchell. My pronouns are they and he. I'm a light-skinned Black person with piercings in my nose, wearing a black t-shirt with gold letters that says Black Trans Lives Matter, and a pink short afro. Yeah, I'm sitting in my half-packed apartment in front of a yellowish wall, and there's like some mess in the back and a cute little chimney there too. So yeah, I'm calling in from New Orleans, AKA Balbancha. And yeah, I'm a co-director of Last Call. We're like an oral history project like for LGBTQ folks in New Orleans and the South. And yeah, we got this grant kind of like haphazardly in this like really beautiful way. I want to like go back and echo what some folks are saying about like timing and accessibility to the money. Like that was super duper helpful. Like it was actually like in the summer when we received the funds, and we are historically take a break in the summer. So we're kind of in the middle of our break, but from like hosting like virtual gatherings like on a semi-regular basis and doing like a mutual aid efforts for LGBTQ elders down here in our community and stuff. So we were taking a well-needed rest, but I saw my friends out in Vermont at Sandglass Puppet Theater Company were hosting a puppet making workshop. And we were already connected to folks out there in Vermont because yeah, they're one of the sites that we're supposed to tour our show to that got canceled because of COVID. So we were already having questions like, how do we continue connecting with these people during this moment while also in crisis? And yeah, so I saw this as like a great opportunity for us to try to gather some funds to do this workshop that they were offering virtually to learn how to make puppets. So with support from Net 10, and then also there was like a private donor who helped with in Vermont. We were able to get some like puppet making kits down to some folks down here in New Orleans. And yeah, I really wish that I wasn't in transition because I'd like show you my cute little puppet that I made as a cute closing, but she's actually in Virginia right now. But yeah, it was really a great opportunity. And I think I'll stop there because time, I want us to have time for other folks to talk to.
Thank you so much. That sounds so exciting though. I wish we could see the puppet. Thanks. Okay, next time. Thank you. And Dante is with us from.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everyone.
Yes.
I am Dante Belletti. I use he, him pronouns. I have long brown hair and a beard, and I'm sitting in front of some lovely shelves, and I'm wearing a button-up shirt because I wanted to look pretty for all of you today, and I hope I do. So, hi, Stephen Bisher. So I am the development manager of a company called the SuperGeographic Ensemble Theater. I am currently, I am based in Brooklyn, New York, which is Lenape land, but we have company members that live and work in 7 different countries around the globe. And we hope to expand that number as we continue to grow as a company. So remote collaboration is absolutely something that was always going to be a thing for us and became even more of a thing in March of last year when all of this went down. So we specifically used the Net 10 grant to help us jumpstart 2 projects. The first is a collaboration with a company called Still Space Theater, which is a company based out of Bangalore, India. And they, we've had a long time relationship with them. We've done workshops with them, that sort of thing, but hadn't ever really consummated the relationship with a piece. And so what was lovely about the Net 10 grant was it allowed us to get all of us in an online space together so that we could start having some serious conversations about a piece and also generate some initial writing. That piece is called The Monk and Alexander, and it specifically is about queerness, both specifically in India and also internationally, and the ways that queer politics manifest themselves differently in different regions of the world. We also used part of our Net 10 grant to help us pay our actors for some time to get together in an online Zoom workshop, both for a second piece that we're developing, which is called Parsley. That is in early stages, so we wanted some development on that. But we also used the time to figure out how we were going to translate our training, which is a big part of our company, is a dedication to training and to training each other. We used part of that workshop to experiment with training methodologies that work on Zoom, some that don't, what was effective for us, what was not, and to attempt to create a space that felt like a communal space online. And I think I will stop it there in the interest of time. But the Net 10 grant came at a moment when we, like a lot of other people, were not sure how we were going to go forward, and really gave us a strong launch pad to leap off into the year with. So we're incredibly grateful for that.
Thank you, Dante. Sounds like you all have a big projects going on this. So it's fantastic to hear about.
We hope.
And to close us out, Sabrina, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you all did?
Sure. Sabrina Hamilton, Artistic Director of the Co-Festival of Performance, coming to you from the traditional lands of the Kumtuk and Nipmunks, who are people who are the indigenous people of this part that is now known colonially as Western Massachusetts. I'm 65 years old. I have shoulder length straight white hair. I'm wearing a green cowl neck with a labradorite necklace, and I am sitting in a peacock colored room. Along with a consortium of other Western Massachusetts ensembles that I had sort of put together, was supposed to host a network of ensemble theaters Macrofest last summer. And it was also supposed to be our 30th anniversary season. I used the net funds because they came so quickly to immediately reach out and try to connect with a number of the other people who were also supposed to host Macrofest events. And these included Shoshana and Eric Bass of Sandglass Theater, whose event was to have followed ours, Deborah Eliezer of Fool's Fury, who were formed at Co in 2019, and whose Build event, which was curated by NetCo board president Claudia Alec, was supposed to have preceded ours. And when this event went digital, I was able to use the Net 10 grant to be able to pay full price to register for the event. Otherwise, it would have been a discount attendance. But most crucial, perhaps, was to plotting a course of action, was talking with Julie Hadreen of Tricklock Company, whose Revolutions Festival was right in the middle when the pandemic hit, and they had to shut down mid-festival. And this calamity has led to the folding of their ensemble. And because I think I was able to just reach out with the grant and talk to these people right away, I was able to cancel the co-hosted event, the co-festival hosted event, early enough that I was able to I think, and talk to funders and preserve those funds. And so that I hope to come back to you at some point when it's safe and be able to offer another opportunity to come to something that will be called Ensemble Seeding the Future. I used the rest of the funds to support and attend the Transmedia Producing in the Age of the Pandemic, weekly Zooms organized by Claudia Alec, Khalid Sawaf, and the Calling Up Justice team, which gave me the know-how, and there are a number of people who attend those calls on this call. I think I've been to about 40 of the 45 or so sessions, and that knowledge gave me the information to be able to host CO's first live streamed event, Magic City Massacre, which was Deletta Gillespie's play about the Tulsa Race Massacre, which we were able to offer on Juneteenth. There is a little article that our technical manager, Gosh, put together, which was about sort of what it's like to do a first-time web streaming thing. And I'm putting a link to that too, because that might be useful for folks who are jumping in.
Yeah, and we're going to be sharing that out more widely as well. Thanks to you all. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabrina. This was so fun. And thank you to all our panelists. Let's just give them some love in the chat or with the reactions button. You all, this was just so fantastic. I'm so inspired. I mean, I heard all sorts of different connections and collaborations and creativity. I think, Adam, you said here, you know, this question of what would be possible. And I think that's really what we were hoping that this would open up. So now we want to kind of switch gears, and I just want to like have us, you know, shake out and close our eyes for a second. So I'm going to bring back, you know, my girl Lizzo here just to give us a little 5-second, 10-second clip of just like shaking out some of our back before we get into conversation, because sometimes we just need a little bit of an adjustment. So let me put that up. I just had to do a little stretch, So we'll go into gallery view if you're not already in there, and just have a conversation with each other. You know, we'll put these questions back into the chat, but you know, how are we doing to recover from isolation? Where are we starting to focus our work in 2021? What does that look like? How are we tackling some of these conversations around racial justice and civic engagement? So if you want to participate, go ahead and stack yourself into the chat, and Alicia will kind of let me know who wants to kind of voice themselves into the space and share some thoughts. Yeah, let's get started in this conversation, this community conversation around healing and connection. Who would love to kind of kick us off? Let's give our panelists a little break because they just talked, but if you all want to participate as well, please feel free. Anybody. You can also just, you know, unsilence and jump in here. We don't have to be formal about it.
Well, I'll just jump in and say that this has been absolutely eye-opening, because the theater company that I work with, we have been kind of on hold indefinitely. I also work with LGBTQ youth, and that, unfortunately, because they are youth and with parents involved, has been put on hold indefinitely. But this gives me so many ideas and thoughts about how we can move into this next year, seeing that all these deadlines are being pushed back further and further and further for in-person theater. So thank you so much. I feel very grateful to be here, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you for being here. Yay. Well, let's take a reaction maybe to the share outs too. Yeah, Rowen.
One of the things that's been a really big part of our work, and I loved hearing it echoed and like feeling that resonance with other folks, is the financial access and the geographic access that virtual theater affords. I know we are 100% going to keep virtual theater as a core element of our programming, even when we go back to venue-based theater, because it changes I don't want to say it removes barrier, like all the barriers, but it changes the barriers, and it gives us a different way to create and to participate and to be in community with each other. And that's been like the absolute best, just amazing.
That's really wise. I mean, I think, yeah, how are we starting to think about, again, I use come back to this word hybrid, but you know, coming back into that dual form. I think we have Eric and then Joan. Eric.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Eric Coopers. I'm calling in from Southern Pomo land in Sonoma County, California. I am present as a cisgendered white male, beard, mustache, red and blue knitted hat with braided sides. I'm sitting in front of a window and big redwood trees. And I just wanted to share my response to this time. I acknowledge just tremendous suffering and I'm sort of trying to stay connected to that side of things and see how I can help. And at the same time, I feel like this is, for me, what the changes that are happening in the performance world I think are so welcome to me, that I feel like we're in this opportunity to let a lot of stuff go that I feel is kind of outdated and inaccessible and somewhat elitist. And so I feel like it's this time of tremendous opportunity. I also think that we're never going back to what was before. That is over, in my opinion. And whatever comes next, even if it looks kind of similar to what we used to do, it's going to be informed by this time. And that my sense is that the pandemic is kind of a rehearsal for more troubles, bigger troubles to come with climate change, with more pandemics and all that. And so I've been dedicated to sort of how can we use this time to just really research apocalypse ready performance stuff that we can do no matter what happens. We're not going to be able to predict the future. How can we really get to sort of the essentials? And I'm doing that in different ways, but one way I wanted to share with you all is that we're launching, I also teach at Cal State East Bay, and we're launching an inclusive performance festival. And trying to set it up in a different way, where it's not like we just host a festival and you submit your event, but that anybody participating is part of the planning ensemble for the festival. And we're going to spend 2 months meeting once a week to plan it together. So you don't even have to necessarily know what you're doing yet, but if you just want to be involved in such a festival, we're shooting for April. Most of it will be online. There might be some things in person, but we're hoping for people from all over who would be interested in collaborating on new ways to do our thing, to join. So I'm going to put a link in the chat if you want more information about that. And we see inclusion in terms of body identities, disability, ability, cultures, but also in terms of art forms. And we're seeing performance in terms of plays and dance concerts and music, but also discussions and protests and processions and lectures and spiritual rituals, whatever. It's very open and very inclusive. So please check it out if you would like to play together.
Yeah, and Eric, just so you see in the chat, I think everybody's ready for your Apocalypse Ready book.
All right. It's going to
now.
have to be psychically transmitted because we might not have paper or internet at that point.
Good point. Good point. I think Cheryl is not going to jump in here. So Joan?
Yes, Joan.
Great.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Joan Lipkin. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a tired looking, pale white woman who is sheltering in really Osage land and Missouri and Alani land, which is now known as St. Louis. And I'm wearing a scarf and I have shoulder length brown hair. I'm very glad to be here. I'm having this flashback of the last net conversation I was in. I know some of you were in this conversation where we wept. And I just want to take a moment and remember that and acknowledge that we were in so much pain. And we were also under the pain of the administration. And I am still discharging the stress of the past 5 years. I wanted to share my gratitude to Net for giving us a grant, giving me a grant. That's what it was. She gave me a grant to go to Eastern Europe, where I had been working, volunteering as an artist and a social activist for several years, for about a month, every year, working with the LGBTQIA+ community there. And I made a theater piece, a docu piece about their lives with their permission, with their interest, actually. I worked with the civil rights defenders. And that was really helpful for me to get that. And I mean, not for me to get there because I had been developing my relationship, but to be able to afford to do that because I was donating my time. And then I raised some more money to cover it. And it was an extraordinary experience. I mean, we did the play in Belgrade, and then I got asked to do it by some young activist said to me, would you come to Sarajevo? I said, of course I'll come. And so I went to Sarajevo, and I had to rent an apartment, which is not an expensive thing for an American to do, but because it's not even safe for a lot of queer people to meet in certain spaces. So I rented an apartment so we could safely meet and rehearse. And we performed in an undisclosed location, and the underground was so intense that we had to turn people away. We couldn't get everybody in the room, but we couldn't make the event public. And I was going to do more work with them. And then the pandemic hit. So I just wanted to share a couple of things. One is that I really think of creativity as a muscle, and I have redirected my energies, a lot of my energies towards voting and voter suppression. So we have a group called Dance the Vote that we started 4 years ago. And we're very concerned about all the blocks to people having access to voting. I mean, we won this election, but 75 million people did not agree with a democratic point of view. I hope it's okay that I'm talking about politics. My life is political and social and artistic. And I'm very concerned about, there's always been white supremacy, but the enormous legitimacy, quote, legitimacy and surge of white supremacy. And one of the things that's so important is voting and the ways in which we make voting possible. So we worked on stuff for Georgia, we worked on stuff all over. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. And I'm also, I agree with what Eric said. We are in preparation for another pandemic. And we are in another virus that's going to mutate. And we are in preparation for, we're not in preparation, we are in anticipation. I mean, all of us collectively. Anticipation for much more climate emergency. And I feel that my offer, this is what I always say in rehearsal. I don't say do something, I say, I want to make an offer. Why don't you think about this offer and see if you want to accept it? I'd like to make an offer for us to think about how we can all be more involved in climate emergency, because it's here now, and it's really here in a lot of parts of the country. So I'm working on right now, helping as a dramaturg on a piece of a dance piece on environmental racism, and I am facilitating an online theater workshop for an entire weekend in which the theater students and other students from other parts of a university that's on the East Coast, I'm not going to be there, can make pieces that look at climate emergency. And I want to work on everything, but I can't work on everything.
I know, don't we all?
Anyway, that's it for me right now. We weren't able to use all of our funds for our initial funds for Belgrade, because we were hoping to continue, and I don't know if that's something that we can try and do with them online, but that's some of what we're doing. And if anybody wants to think about ways that you can use your creativity, your incredible creativity on this gathering to work on voter suppression, let me know. I'll put my information in the chat. I'd love to have you.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like you're really doing, I love this notion of creativity as a muscle. Thank you for offering that. I think we have next Scarlett.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scarlett Marasa Rivera. She, her pronouns, beaming in from South Park Slope, Brooklyn on Canarsie land. I have short gray and brownish hair with large headphones covering my ears, a gray soft shirt, and behind a background with a map and some sparkly stuff. I'm with Letter of Marque Theater Company, also based out of Brooklyn. Since COVID, we have spread to other places. And I'd like to thank my other theater companies my company was born out of, Ensemble, which is the Irondale Ensemble Project, Strike Anywhere Performance Ensemble, and I want to just say it's so nice throughout all of these years to see faces here. Through decades, thinking about being in Hawaii with some of you and all those kind of things, just being in this space. I want to uplift all the joy that we have shared, and it feels really great to be in a net environment. We never stopped our theater company through this time. Our ensemble meets weekly, and we also have a program called Brooklyn Improv Training, where we train in improv techniques. And over the summer, we did hold in-person improv outside. We found a nearby park that would house us, keep the bathrooms open, and I keep on thinking about the embodiment and the ritual that we will learn from each other in this kind of community of bringing people back in physical space. Because that was the biggest thing, is that after doing it week by week and then having people in masks, we drew out circles. We had a set up to really be as safe as we possibly could. And people were just taking in saying one word at a time in a circle with people was overwhelming for people. So I just thinking about that embodiment. Also, one of the things we've been doing is giving free BIPOC and LGBTQA scholarships for all of our improv classes. And like a lot of you know who've done online things, our communities have grown. So this is nationally, internationally. So it's a really long Google form in the chat, but I'll share it. We're also LOM Theater on all the social medias. We just keep on having free grants. So if you know someone that fits this category who could benefit meeting once a week on Wednesdays and working on ensemble improv technique, please share it with them. I would love for them to have that gift with us and for their presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that resource. Yes, in the chat. We have Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay Jenkins. Hi.
Let me unmute myself. Hello, my name is Lindsay. I go by LJ. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a Black woman in bad lighting. I have purple braids. You can't really tell because of the bad lighting. And I'm wearing glasses. I'm really excited. This is my first gathering with the network of ensemble theaters. I am the founder of Maroon Arts and Culture. We are a new arts organization based here on the ancestral lands of the Tongva people. I just wanted to, I have a unique perspective on this time period because our organization was started on Juneteenth, 2019. And so this was supposed to be our inaugural season in the middle of this pandemic. And so initially I was extremely disappointed. However, I've been able, as a lot of people have said, we've been able to interact with people that we would not have been able to interact with otherwise. We started our education initiative last fall called Freedom School, and we were able to enroll students from across the United States. We are hosting a playwriting for teens workshop on January 30th. It's going to be taught from the perspective of marginalized aesthetics, meaning centering yourself and your story. And we're also, and even though it's a playwriting class, we're going to talk about devising techniques that don't rely on text and those kinds of subtle cultural differences that I think kind of set apart our curriculum. So I'll drop the link in the chat if anyone knows anyone who's interested. And so I just, beyond the education program and beyond the ability to just engage with a potential community and Patricia's the person that recommended emergent strategy to me a long time ago, and it's just been the foundation of how we strategize at Maroon. And so keeping that in mind, the opportunity to really reach out and spread out to a community across the country has just really been invaluable. But aside from that, I'm a person that is always looking towards the future of theater. You know, I'm very much invested in the future of Black theater particularly, but the theater in general. And I do think that the theater has been a little bit stalled in the area of technology, accessibility, integration. And so I do think that this time period has kind of forced the theater to reconsider, how do we continue to grow and expand and innovate in our technologically advancing society? I love the idea of, most of us, I think, are probably going to keep virtual performances because they do provide another level of accessibility. But then getting creative, yeah, I got your emergent strategy, but getting creative with how we can integrate these technological pieces into our live performances, I think, is the next step. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm excited to see what the future of theater looks like with all of these additional technology elements that we've discovered over the past year.
I love that question. So how do we integrate technology into live performance? I think that's a really, really wise thought. Well, welcome in, LJ. We're happy to have you. We have Joan S. And we're and then Cheryl will kind of close us out. Is Joan still with us? Cheryl, do you want to, I don't see Joan. So Cheryl, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Hi.
Great.
I'm Cheryl Studley, Artistic Director of Serious Play Theater Ensemble here in Northampton, Massachusetts. We make our home on the Potomac Nation lands of the Connecticut River Valley, very near Sabrina and Co-Festival, who brought me into knowing about NET originally. I'm an older woman. I've been doing theater, ensemble theater and physical theater for a long time, based on viewpoints from my friend Anne Bogart. Yeah, so I've always been interested in the intersection of theater and social justice, sort of like Joan, and that's driven my work, Peter Brook style. So issues that come up for us is what influences the devising we do. And before COVID, we were working on water and climate change. And we were able to carry that through our work in devising a new piece, which became Moving Water. And I learned many things, having always taken about 2 years to create a piece. I learned in the researching that water and climate change is a hard thing to get your head around when you want to make it theatrical, when you want to create empathy and you want to have an experience as opposed to telling people about the facts of water. I think they get a barrage of that. So I turned to a musician I bumped into who plays water goblets. And in turn, his name is Johnny Rogers. He lives in Portland, Oregon, and brought him into the mix of our collaborators. We have a playwright, a visual artist, a video artist, and right now, 3 actors. We started with 6 actors, but during COVID, there were reasons why 3 had to leave. And that's a very important point because the 3 who had to leave are our diversity. An African-American man, a Latino man, and a wonderful actor, Abu, from Pakistan. And they have highly influenced our collaborative script. But how I learned so much about the difference, the social justice. Why can we keep working the people who are able to support ourselves more readily? And these folks had to leave for many reasons around COVID. And this is driven not only Moving Water, but also
Cheryl, I think we might have lost. Am I the only one or? Okay, no. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully Cheryl will rejoin, but I also want to take a moment to kind of close this out as well because we're at time and I see folks have to jump off. So Wow. I also want to just uplift some stuff in the chat in terms of rituals. We heard racial justice, we heard climate justice, so much more to unpack. This is just the beginning of a conversation around healing and reopening. So please put resources in the chat. Just want to thank again our wonderful panelists for being with us today and sharing their amazing stories of connection. Just to remind us, in our 25th year, we have mini grants open right now for these remote connections. So please, we have one more review date next Thursday. We also are Pay What You Can membership. So if you know friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the NET community, please, please, please let them know that it's going to be open for Pay What You Can until June. So we really want to make sure to have complete access and have folks in the mix with us. So please let folks know. We will put in the chat all of our social media connections. We're starting to pick that up. We have takeovers that are happening. Actually, one's happening right now. I've been getting notifications about that. And I just want to thank everybody for taking time to build community with us today. It's just so wonderful to share space again. And we will be doing this more and more and more, hopefully throughout the year. So don't worry, more to come, more to come. And I'm gonna just play us out with a song. So feel free to stay as long as you want and shake it up. And you could silence yourself and just, shake it out, say hello. So thank you all. Or you could give some love in the chat to everybody.